How you doing today, folks? Yes, they do call me Dr. Hodge. No, I cannot save your life, but I can build your wooden dreams. Hello, my name is Eric Burdge. This is how I roll. This is what I do. And this is who I am. Let's get started. I see you guys have all taken a moment to get to know Charlie. The board behind me is this chair. Nothing was added to him. There are no nails or screws. He was simply taken from what he was and refined into what he was meant to be. See, there's this really weird fact that none of us ever actually think about. No one in this room, nor plant or animal on this planet, ever chose to be alive. Someone else made that decision for us. For me, my parents decided to have, well, me. And for Charlie, I'm saying someone probably planted a seed, or some wind dragged a seed to fertile soil. We're not as far off from trees as you think. Charlie's mission was simple: grow up in South America, have good roots, get plenty of water, and grow towards the sunlight. I, on the other hand, like everyone else who's in this room and that we know, had to find a reason for my life to matter. Something for me to do with the time in the day. All right, so we can all agree that 9 times 9 is 81 and a comma goes somewhere in a sentence, right? Why do we all have to know that? I'm not what you call a good student. Mostly because I learned how to read 5 years ago. And I couldn't figure out why people were freaking out about tests and essays. I mean, if you show up, they could give you a passing grade, right? Here's the thing, though. I walked into a woodshop class when I was in 5th grade, and the teacher handed us a board and 2 pieces of plywood and 6 nails. Said, measure up 3/8 of an inch from the bottom, an equal distance on each side, and to the center point. Drive the nails. Well, I jumped around with joy because I finally understood something. Those nails were going to hit each other. I brought my point up proudly to my teacher, and he exclaimed that he had been doing it for 20 years and they just seemed to miss, but that was his thought. And that's when it changed, because the question always was, Eric, do you understand what I'm saying to you? And it quickly became, Eric, why are you trying to challenge me so much? Budget cuts and education reform took away my wood shop, because apparently we needed to use computers. So there I was. I got stuck back in the classrooms that didn't make any sense to me from the beginning to the end. I sat in class from 7 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock, simply confused as to why we were there. I did this for years, and then we got into high school. And I found this really awesome thing called Tech Crew. For all of you guys who don't know what Tech Crew is, that's Tech Crew. The lights are Tech Crew. We're the people behind the scenes. And I signed up immediately. My teacher realized within 2 weeks that this made more sense to me than the other students. And I was put in charge of all of construction. But for the next 2 years, I still couldn't figure out why people were worrying about essays. Why was I spending my days sitting in class? Well, truth be told, if I sat in class for 7 hours, they would let me go to Tech Crew. So I showed up in the morning. But I decided that I deserved an education as much as anyone else did. So in my junior year, I went to our own Monmouth County vocational schools and started taking carpentry classes. I met my friend and teacher there, Larry DeGraney. I still talk to him to this day. We worked together within 2 months of me showing up to 10 days ago. So I figured out what I knew, what I could understand, what made sense to me. And what we all thought was the worst time of our life ended. And turns out that was the easy part. High school was over. But I wanted to make something of myself, to spend my days doing something worthwhile. So I headed off to college. About this time, Charlie, as a tree, was ending the end of his life cycle. We would meet about 5 years later in Boston. But before I went to Boston, I would have to head down to South Carolina and up to Rhode Island to 2 different institutions. The first one wanted me to read Shakespeare, and I still can't read. Didn't help. The second one, well, it was great. I got to spend 5 hours a day in a woodshop class, but I nearly failed out of every class they put directly after it, because if I could sit in the corner for another half an hour and do a little more sanding, or get that coat just right, make that joint fit better, well then I don't really need to go to math class. And that was all right, and I graduated by the skin of my teeth. Came back and worked for a furniture maker. And then I found this magical place called the North Bennett Street School in Boston. You've probably never heard of it, but it's America's oldest trade school. There's about 150 people in the whole thing. And I got to be me, unapologetically, without rules, without books, without tests. I just got to be me. Because I stood in this apron behind a workbench and was handed piles of wood and learned to make tools razor sharp and turn what nature created into beautiful things. It was freaking awesome. I would stand there, back hurting, stomach empty with a smile on my face at 9 o'clock at night, waiting for the janitor to push me out the door. Halfway through my session, that's where I met Charlie. He came in on a flatbed truck as the board you see behind me. See, if you really look at Charlie, if you take a minute and you look at his grain pattern and how it flows with his shape, and you look at how his legs match each other perfectly but are different from the rails, how he flows into his piece, well, that's just a result of how he got here. That's a result of every storm he'd ever been through, good summers, bad winters, and every animal that ever lived in him caused him to have this particular pattern. And I would have to say it's pretty obvious that if you look at who I was and how I got here, and if you look at who Charlie was and how he got here, well, nothing was added to either of us. We just simply were refined into the person we were always meant to be. Because I could have been anything, and Charlie could have been anything, but if you really look at us, it's clear. Charlie was meant to be a chair, and I was meant to be a furniture maker. And I thank you for your time.